The Public Utility Regulatory Commission is set to increase water and electricity tariffs soon.
Natural facts, I don't think they should increase it because for now, the service they are rendering is not satisfactory. So.
With a suit brought by the Truth and Accountability Forum at the High Court against any attempt to review tariffs, would this increase be affected, or would this increase take place? And if it does, by how much will utilities be increased? And what will be the implications in the face of recent fuel hikes? This is today's big story, and this is what we'll be talking to you about. My name is Bright Nanamfo. Now, for those of you who are not aware, the Public Utility Regulatory Commission has gotten the nod to increase utility tariffs. The PRC says there is consensus among stakeholders on the need to grant the request for tariff adjustment by the utility providers. According to the Public Relations Officer of the Commission, although all the stakeholders consulted were in favor of the increment, they emphasized the need for quality service. According to her, the major reason given by the stakeholders for approving the request for tariff increases is the depreciation of the cedi. The situation, they said, has eroded the value of the current tariffs, which were last reviewed in 2011. PRC is, however, not sure when the new tariffs would be announced, but when the announcement does come, it will come with the cost of water and electricity going up. A suit brought by the Truth and Accountability Forum at the High Court against any attempt to review tariffs makes it difficult to state exactly when new tariffs would be announced. Madam Yajantua told us now TAF, a civil society group, is praying the court, among other things, to put a perpetual injunction on PURC, restraining it from approving new rates without providing clear guidelines on how the rates are calculated. And quickly, we'll be going to the phone lines. The Public Relations Officer of the Public Utility Regulatory Commission has just joined me on today's big story. Madam Yajantua, thanks so much for speaking to me. And first of all, I'm sure the Commission is excited. At least it has the backing of stakeholders in the call for review in tariffs.
What did you say?
I'm asking that the Commission is at least kind of excited that at least it has the backing of stakeholders in the call for review of tariffs.
The PRC has done stakeholder consultations, and we are enjoined by law to do what is in the best interest of the utility service consumer, and also ensure the financial viability and integrity of the utility service provider. In the work that we do what is in the best interest of both.
And
what the stakeholders are saying, they are just giving input into the tariff decision-making process. They are not giving us approval to increase or not to increase.
So the issue was about the fact that quality of service was a challenge. How did that come to you?
Quality of service is an issue that has come up several times, and the PURC will ensure that the utilities, if everything is okay, that we are not in a crisis like we've gone through for the past 8 months, that there was no availability of gas. Then, when everything is okay, that's what we are going to ensure, that there is adequate quality of service and the consumers will get value for money.
If you say the Commission is going to ensure, how will this be done? Because
we are going to monitor, we are going to penalize, we are going to use all mechanisms available to the PURC to ensure that the right thing is done.
Some argue that monitoring and penalizing are not new. We have heard it several times. So how different would it be this time?
We are going to make sure, because you see, if there are two issues here. If there is a crisis like it happened with the load shedding, that is not a quality of service issue. It's a crisis issue where there is no availability of adequate generation. And certainly once there is a shortfall, you find that there are some outages, which is load shedding. This is planned. But in a very normal situation, we've been using our tools and benchmarks and mechanisms to ensure that the utility service do the right thing. For instance, in 2011, we refused them a tariff through the AAF.
Right.
Because we are not happy with the quality of service. But so let's take out the load shedding period. That one is not an issue of quality of service or the crisis that the country was going through. Because, for instance, 200 megawatts of electricity was at a go out of the generation mix.
Are you worried when consumers say that, look, ECG, for instance, you don't need to increase your tariffs. There's a lot that is old out there. You have to go and collect them. Are you worried when you hear such complaints?
Whatever they have to, because you see, we penalize them. They have a collection ratio, and if they don't meet the collection ratio, they are penalized through the tariff. You will not give them a tariff for that one. Besides, they say that Fed government has paid them. Even when we put all that money together, it will not help them do what they have to do. Expansion demands 10% per annum. Issues of suppressed demand when there are improvements in the system, where there are problems with voltages and things like that are corrected and people consume the actual consumption. All these things, they need money to work. And the last time we increased tariff was in 2010. And the value of the tariff has eroded tremendously, looking at the depreciation of the CD and what we are seeing now.
Right. Madam, kindly hold the line for me. Let me speak to Kofi Capito, the chairman of the... Right. Thank you. Right. Thank you so much. I'm sure Mr. Kofi Capito heard you and he will respond to the issues raised. Mr. Kofi Capito, thanks so much. Now, Madam Jantua thinks that the last time tariffs were increased in 2010, and so definitely tariffs should go up.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Kofi Capito.
Yes, sir.
Right, thanks so much for joining us here. Now, the public relations officer of the PURC is arguing that the last time tariffs went up was in 2010, and so tariffs should go up by now.
You know, when they make statements like that, I find it very interesting. I don't think here in Ghana we increase anybody's salaries or incomes on a yearly basis. The question is, does the utilities maybe need an increment? Everybody will not deny it. As to the dollar exchange, depreciation and inflation. Right. The question is, when we all went as a stakeholder to consult with the PURC, including the committee from Parliament on Energy. Right. The agreement was all this increase should be weighed against or pegged against performance. Look, I am not against the fact. Look, at the moment, I'll be honest with you. Somehow, my area, which is East Legon, I can attest that energy or the light has actually stabilized for some time now. Right. Maybe a week, maybe two. But the question is, I was hoping that we can continue, probably let's say to the end of the year, so that it will be very, very prudent, or it will be obvious that, yes, this so-called doomsaw, or this so-called erratic fluctuation of electricity in Ghana has actually become a thing of the past. Then, I'm sure I would even single-handedly lead a crusade saying that based on the fact that from where we are or where we were to where we've come to, some increases due. I agree with Nanaya when you're saying that the whole amount that they're asking for might not be the one that we would give it to them, which is true, because 130% is a little bit too much. Right. Yes, they do deserve some increase. But the question I want to ask, we should not make this thing look like as if the stakeholders agreed that go ahead and increase. We gave a condition. Right. As to that is the way the increase, if it's going to be increased by PURC, what are the benchmarks that they will give to the utilities? What are the guarantees to the consumers? Were these issues, did you get answers for these issues that were raised by stakeholders? No, we did not, because they actually, the PURC invited us for us to come and voice our our opinions and contribute as to the whole debate. Yes, even including I can name a few MPs who were not happy. Honorable Muntaka was one person. Okay, the whole ranking members that came were not happy, and these people are the representatives of the people of Ghana, so they are answerable to their constituents.
Right.
So if they are saying that, my constituents are saying that, yes, we can only agree if we see a very, very, very massive improvement in terms of uninterrupted supply of both water and electricity.
Right. Can you hold a line for me? Let me speak to Kwabena Adams of the Center for Energy Policy, the Executive Director. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, the PRC is talking about the fact that it definitely would need to increase tariffs because for the past 3 years, as it puts it, tariffs have remained same. Should that be the reason why we should increase tariffs? Mr. Adams.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and good evening to my brother Capito. I want to agree with the PURC to some extent.
Right.
That tariffs are inevitable. Tariff increases are inevitable. For the past 3 years, the factors that affect the determination of tariffs for power the exchange rate is still relevant today. About 30% depreciation in the city over the last 1 year. And therefore, it affects not just the VRA, but also the ECG that procures equipment, transformers in dollars. Also, the generation mix. They are now using more thermal as opposed to hydro. And you know that thermal is more expensive than hydro. The third issue is the accumulated losses as a result of the switch by VRA to the use of light crude oil from natural gas in 2012, when we had damage to the pipeline of the West Africa gas pipeline. They accumulated losses in excess of $375 million US. And so based on this, I think that it is important for us to consider tariffs. And in addition to this, ECG is still confronted with high distribution losses, 23% distribution losses, of which about 12% is technical. And so they need investment in order to stabilize the system and provide reliable power. And so if you look at these fundamentals, there is no doubt why there should not be increases. The issue is how much.
But Mr. Adams, aren't you worried about the argument that as long as the services we get are not one of quality, these service providers should go back and improve them and come to us and talk about tariff adjustments?
Yes, I think that having said all that I have said, which justify why tariffs must increase, the issue we should be confronted with now, which we should be discussing, is how much the tariffs increases we can afford, because the dynamics have changed. The delay by the PURC in effecting the increases has led to new developments, which I believe have changed the landscape for determining tariffs. First of all, there is a resumed supply of natural gas, by the West Africa gas pipeline to VRA, and so the use of the cost of importing light crude oil as justification for asking higher tariffs may no longer be justifiable, because they are now using a much cheaper source of energy to produce power. The second issue has to deal with government role itself. Government was indebted to the tune of $400 million US to the VRA, almost about the same amount to the ECG. Government has redeemed, its side of the bargain by paying substantially its debt. The debt to VRA is now about $30 million US. The debt to ECG is now about 200 million Ghana cedis. And so substantially the debts have reduced, and therefore the companies now have a stronger liquidity position to be able to make their operation. What I think we need to look at is how much we can take from the PURC, and therefore judging by the new developments that we are seeing on the energy landscape, I think that the PURC may have to reduce the figures further.
Right.
But you also talked about quality of service, and that is fundamental. And this is why I agree with Capito that we need to give the utilities benchmarks. The ECG, for instance, still has about 10-11% non-technical losses. And here we're talking about commercial losses, which talk, more about inefficiency than the technical issues. And therefore, there is something we have to do about improving quality. And this is why the PURC should not just announce tariffs, but also they should give benchmarks, and they should publish the benchmarks.
Right.
I am worried sometimes about the level of transparency in tariff determination. The companies come to make submission to the ECG. The companies justify why we should pay higher tariffs by giving out their figures. The PURC, having reviewed the figures, must also come out and tell us, in their opinion, what they think the right figures are. So when we have the benefit of the two sides being published that we can review, then citizens can take informed, decision as to whether the tariffs that are being announced are realistic, and therefore we should pay those tariffs or not. This is the way I think we should be going about tariff determination in Ghana.
Right. Can you hold the line for me? Don't drop it yet. Let me go back to Mr. Kofi Capito. Now, Mr. Capito, if you heard Mr. Adams, he agrees to the fact that performance is critical, but he talks about the fact that the city, for instance, has not been that good, the economy not very good, and so these utility providers will need tariff adjustment to survive.
Like I said earlier, I think every person in Ghana acknowledges and the reality of the dollar to the local currency not being what it used to be, or as strong as what it used to be.
Right.
The question that we are talking about, even the so-called energy generation mix, which is hydro, crude, and then natural gas. Okay. The question is, we should be told the percentage of hydro, the percentage of crude, and the percentage of the natural gas. Everybody knows that hydro and gas is the most cheapest.
Right.
So at the moment, how much of the mix is light crude, which is a very expensive one? Secondly, if you remember not too long ago, and this is what people don't understand, yes, you can push for the increase, but there's a fundamental thing which is called ability to pay, including the government of Ghana, who recently came out to say that he doesn't have the ability to pay salaries.
So Mr. Adams, for instance, is talking about the fact that we should look at how much increment PRC will give to the providers.
But what I am saying is, I agree with them, and that is what I've been saying from day one, that yes, it is somehow time for us to look at how to increase it. But we are also forgetting the other side, okay, which is, if we're going to even let them increase it by, let's say, 30% instead of 130,
right?
Okay, somebody has to pay for it, okay. And then if government is not even paying workers on time, as government himself has actually admitted that ability to pay, that is why the government has gone onto the Eurobond, right? To go and source for money. We talk about how realistic should we pay for electricity in Ghana. So that should be the national debate. We should look at salary, not just from the private individual, but government salary. Whose highest salary earner in Ghana is the chief executive officer? Do you know the chief executive officer? Sanders Fine. He earns from 29,000 to 36,000 Ghana cedis a year, equaling it to 3,000 a month. 3,000 cedis a month, which is the chief executive officer. I am not talking about the middle worker. Okay.
So ability to pay very important here.
Ability to pay should also come in. And then you know what? The most important thing is for us also to learn how to conserve energy. The consumer also has to learn how to conserve energy.
Right.
Which is very, very important.
Right.
Because if you know how to conserve energy, yes, you might pay higher tariffs at one point. But guess what? If you conserve it well, you can manage your utilities very, very well.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kofi Capito of the Consumer Protection Agency. Let me wrap up with Mr. Mohammed Adams. Mr. Adams, now, Mr. Kofi Capito is arguing that, of course, the prices must go up, but the ability to pay very, very vital. I'm not sure you are on the contrary direction.
Yes, I'm not on the contrary direction, but I'm looking at a balance in the sense that the utilities need to expand generation capacity. And therefore, when you're talking about ability to pay, you also must be talking about the willingness to pay. And the willingness to pay concept is such that the utilities are ready to add one more unit of electricity capacity if consumers are willing to pay for that additional unit. We're talking about marginal cost pricing.
Right.
And so for a businessman or an investor, if he's going to produce an additional unit which consumers need, and there is nobody who is willing to pay, that business or investor is not going to do that. And so one thing is ability to pay, but there is also the willingness to pay concept. And I think we should strike the balance such that the utilities can continue to serve us, but at the same time, government comes in to moderate the higher cost generation and supply could have on consumers. And government is doing something through the lifeline tariffs. I think what we need to do is to have a serious structural change to the tariff formula that we are using. We have, for instance, the lifeline tariff, and then you have the different, load consumers. You have the small load consumer, the large load consumer, and government subsidizes across. So I want us to subsidize the lifeline.
Right.
We should take out subsidy on the other loads.
Okay.
And so the tariff should be two-part tariffs, lifeline tariff and non-lifeline tariff, so that the lifeline tariff is subsidized while the rest of us who consume power beyond the lifeline limit of 50 kilowatt hour will pay the true cost of generating and supplying electricity.
Well, thanks so much for speaking to me out there. Mohammed Adams is the Executive Director of the African Center for Energy Policy. They're talking to me about the PRC getting ready to up your water and electricity. And soon you'll find that your bills that you have to pay for water and electricity might go up. And of course, most of you have been talking to us about this new development, about what you think. And this is what some of you said.
Looking at the service that they are providing for now, like to increase the tariffs is no problem in a way. But if only they will increase it, and for that reason they will also improve on the service they do provide, then I think it's in the right direction. In actual fact, I don't think they should increase it, because for now the service they are rendering is not satisfactory. So
yeah, omani woman adwuma uwe school crowd tifie ye kasa cry e bia we university crowd scientific ss won say sanwie amutifie ye nya adwuma anye esi awo aban esi a matse phone for so e front na kon omo to shop omo bi phone say the tax atom condom crowd omo say tax atom.
Government should look the country, the Ghana change now, so I think they should do something good to help the nation. But every day increasing things, it couldn't help the nation.
My lady say, ensure ni a year more to me. I dear cry a toy and talk. Near send me cry to ya, the all cry intimate to ya. Sebiba can't hold the annie and nature said, a brabo no a ding.
At this moment, The situation in Ghana now is very difficult for us. Even when you sell, they won't buy it. So the money affairs is very difficult for us to get money to pay the water bill and the light bill. So we all think that if the government come down more to consider us.
They call it the big men. Those who are using state cars and that sort of thing, free of charge, they have to pay more and leave the how do you call it, the poor ones, because they are suffering too much. Every day increase, every day they will increase, every day. It's too much for us.
And we've been telling you that the Public Utility Regulatory Commission is set to increase water and electricity tariffs soon. We've been asking you, if it does, how much will this go up and how will it affect you in the face of recent hikes in fuel prices? And a lot more of you have gotten to us on Facebook. Let me go through some of them quickly. Now, Express Rhino says, I'm not ready because I don't earn much. My workplace and I'm a student too. Well, you say you don't earn much at my workplace and a student too. Don't know what exactly you mean. And then Prince Amwa says, this government is not serious at all. And then Boshaba Prince, if only the increment will ensure value for money, then they should do so. Romeo Ajay says, this government is a joke. We are just waiting for, well, Romeo, we are talking about water and electricity. And then Joel Eyim Dakwa says, do we seriously have a government in Ghana? The least I know about government is to shield the ordinary people from hardship. This one rather looks on as hardships are placed on the ordinary people to protect government. God help us. And then Ankus Entry, you are asking, where is the sense in this entry? Let's keep it civil and let's share ideas. And then Akachi Frank says, which verdict? Well, I'm sure a lot more of you are not talking to the issue. Joe Joshua, Supreme Force, says we need not to be ready for any increase in tariffs. What need to be done, need to be done. And then Gregory Ohine Nana Kofi Wusi Bedietu, don't call the second your name. You said, God help our motherland. Things are getting out of hand. Where from all these increments? And then Godwin Malozini says, okay, we're waiting. And then create a champoma or Bobby. All they need is money, but don't give quality services. That's what you want to say. The service providers need money, but not quality services. Reginald Adai says, we are ready for them, but we need better services in 10. And then Efia Watma says, Ghana for you. Abronoma Nyako. Abronoma, please. Let's keep comments civil. And then Aaron Janado says, increase is becoming a popular language in Ghana nowadays. When at all will it be decreased for the poor to also enjoy life small? And then Jivon Mensa, Ghana by Justice said, and I just do not know what the utility companies want from the ordinary Ghanaian. In the light of all these inefficiencies, they want to increase prices again. God save this nation. And then Amponsa Fenteng Sabato, God should turn his face again to Ghana. And then Paula Goku says, whatever, God is watching. And then Zeba Abdul Fattah, why now? That's what you're saying. And then Philip Akwando, better Ghana for all. That's what you're saying. And then Dake Felix Alexander says, how can we live at ease when increase keeps on ringing in our ears? So a lot more of you have gotten to us, but we'll not be able to read all. And of course, we'll be getting you more later on in our subsequent bulletins right here on this channel. And don't forget that the show was brought to you by Blue Rose Limited, Shelter for All, and Star Life Assurance. My name is Bright Nananfu. You can go to my Joy online. You have more updates on this particular issue on increment in tariffs. See you later, and stay watch Joy News right here.